So moving on to your second book, Seducing Celebrities One Meal at a Time, which is about your experience of creating meals and creating meals for different celebrities that have been at your home, or imagining what meals you would make for them if they were to come to your home. How is the experience of writing this book different from writing Places?
Well, one I wanted to write, and the other one was I was told to.
Oh.
Not to say that I didn't have a choice, but the first one came out because of the series I was going to do, and it became the book. And it was putting down all the journeys. There's many more that I haven't completed. But the cookbook was when my manager said, I'll write a cookbook. I'm going to need a cookbook. I have some ideas. And because of products and foods that I'm involved in. And so I did. And I got to tell you, it was like pulling teeth when I had to think about those recipes and try to think in my mind, how much did I put in there? That's the biggest frustration, is how much of the ingredients you put in each course of the meal. And sometimes some people like more salt, less salt, People have their whims. And so, my thing was flavor it if you need to. To me, soups, I'll put, I like to put cumin in and what do you call it, curry. And, I'm just doing a white bean soup and that I did from a small Cornish hen. And I throw the hen out after I've cooked it to death and just taken the broth, and then cook the white beans with mushrooms and kale. It's wonderful.
How did you come up with the title?
Well, I was thinking about life, to be honest with you, about things in life, and thinking, oh, that's seductive. That's the word came to me. And I thought, oh, it's like I fell in love with the word resonate. It just says it. And seductive says it. And I was thinking about New York and what a seductive city New York is. With all its elements, with all its shadows, with all its light, with its intensity. It's got so many things to offer. The food. The people, once they relax, like in restaurants, that's where you find them sensual. Whereas in the work, they have to behave in another way, unless you want something from the boss. And then you would use your sensual side. So that's how. So I thought seducing, and then I thought Seducing America. That was the title, Seducing America. And then someone said, one meal at a time. I said, oh, I like that. And then I thought, but these stories, they're celebrities. They're not just America. They're a certain clique of America. And that was celebrity. So that's how that came about. Seducing celebrities one meal at a time. And in many ways, I realize that that's what I do when I cook, I want people not to leave the table, because I think when people trust the watering hole that they sit around, great conversations come out of it, great jokes. I mean, last night I had a dinner, and we laughed our heads off. But I do tell my guests when they've overstayed.
When did you start giving dinner parties, like as soon as you moved to L.A. or when you're in the early days of New York? When did it start to become something you really enjoyed to do?
Well, I was 26, and I was working at the UN that year. I met people in the consulate, and they had me at their homes for dinner, the Italians specifically. And the way they served, the way they prepared food, the enjoyment of conversation, to be on time, how long you sit around to have hors d'oeuvres, and then how much time after that do you prepare? Do you have the dinner served? Now, they could afford to be with their guests because they had servants. So those of us who don't have servants, and it's difficult because you've got to time it, but at the same time talk to your friends while they're in the kitchen, babbling on as you're trying to concentrate on 3 different courses. So, you learn how to operate it, and each group of people, each time you do it, it's different. Last night, I had 5 adults, and I had 2 children. And the boy was playing games on his little computer, and the little girl was sitting in her bed like a doll. I mean, the quietness of these children, I went, wow, isn't this beautiful? So we were able to have an adult night, so that's what we did.
When you pick the chapters for some of the imaginary guests, the people you've never actually made meals for, but you were saying, if Charlton Heston were at my house, this is what I would make for him. How did you choose which meals you would make for those celebrities?
Well, the easy one was Jacqueline Kennedy, because she married Onassis right after I met her. I think it was 3 weeks later she got married. So I think I went, well, Greek. I had to do a Greek, so who would I serve that to? I thought to her. So it would be the Greek lemon soup, which people love. We do the moussaka. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it. And then do the kourambiedes, which were the celebratory cookies that I liked, the Greek shortbread, that I put a clove in the center of it, of each cookie, just to give it that aroma, that spicy aroma. But, yeah, and there's something rewarding about seeing people satisfied, because let's face it, it is seductive. You create an atmosphere. You bring in, what do you bring? You bring in the flowers. You bring in, you bring an ambiance of the people and how they dress and how they fit and make the room look. What's your lighting? When you have candles, you create all that. You have sound. So there are all the elements that you create so that when they walk in, firstly, they're going to smell the food, and that makes it very appetizing. And then you have the hors d'oeuvres set out, and they're on a big table, and the table looks beautiful because that's the center, that's the place where we will eventually all of us sit around, So each person comes, and you try to serve them their drinks, and sometimes some friends will say, would you like me to help you? And I say, yeah, get them a drink, because I'm in the middle of doing, a certain sauce. But I did the Greek with her. It varied, I suppose. Would come, what would I do with Telly Savalas? Now, he's Greek. And I thought of, because he was a man, and he loved flavor. He loved his food. I always was impressed with the pig on the spit. I always thought that reminded me of the days that I loved during the time of the Crusades. That always looked appealing in the movie. So anyway, that's what I did, and so each course, it varied. Also, how I felt about them, because I had to think of the story with him, and my experience with him was, in theater as well. So Telly, I brought things that I thought would be unusual for him too. I don't think he was always easily pleased. Elizabeth Taylor, I always thought exotic. Joanna Cassidy, worked with me in Australia. I introduced her to oysters, so right away it's sensual. You start with the sensualness. I like to break bread with friends. It's ceremony. I love ceremony.
Well, we did get to see on Twitter last week pictures with your Days castmates, Christian Alfonso, Lauren Koslow, Leanne Hunley, James Reynolds. How was that? How did that dinner party turn out for you? It looked like it was a lot of fun.
Well, I was speaking to Stephanie Sloan at Soap Opera Digest, and I said if I do a dinner party again, because we used to do it, I used to do stories with her on dinner parties or traveling in some, place in the exotic world somewhere. But this time around, I said to her, if I do a dinner, do you want to cover it? Because in many ways, it's a way of presenting the show in a different light. The actors being together, it's just, people I like, people who I spend, just acting with, but I wanted to break bread with. And Christian Alfonso I have had before, but I'm not with Lauren Koslow or with James Reynolds,
Did you have an idea of what they would like, or did you have to sort of guess, or?
No, I made a blunder with James's wife, Lisa. She was a vegetarian. I did moussaka, which had meat.
Oh.
Our friend, my makeup artist who does the scar, who's married to Lauren, Nikki, he doesn't like vegetables. So
well, that's a problem.
It took me 3.5 hours to put that moussaka from beginning to end together. And I watched him just take the eggplant. I've told this story in front of him. I said, I watched you take the eggplant. It took me 3.5 hours to be part of that whole thing. And you take it away. And I said, what are you doing? And the eggplant is so, because it's thin, it's not like it's heavy and you've got to cut. You just cut it with a fork into the meat and with the mushrooms. And he says, I don't like vegetables. Mm-hmm. So he just, the course, it was no longer moussaka.
Right.
Oh.
Well, that's the way
but it was
goes.
A good evening.
Yeah. If you could choose anyone who would seduce you with a meal, throw a dinner party for you, who would you choose?
I don't know. I've never thought of that. I've never thought of being seduced.
You're always the seducer. You're not used to anyone seducing you.
True. Doesn't that say something about me? Oh.
Uh-huh.
There you go. To be... that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, well, you could think about it and let me know later.